So here are some of the basics for Kuta software. So I've opened up an assignment in the geometry Kuta software. There's some features up here that you're going to be able to also access by just clicking on this document. So one example of that is, let's say you want to change the header. You can do that by clicking on that button. You can also change it just by double clicking on the header itself. You can change the different options. And then for adding questions, you basically want to come over here and just type in the topic that you want questions for. So let's say we're doing equations of circles. I could type in circles and you can see all the topics that deal with circles populate, and you can see my equations populate too. I also could just start by typing equations, and if you look at what comes up at the very top, we have circles. You also have all types of equations. So this is how you're going to find your topic, and then you just double click and this will pop up. Now every subject is going to have kind of the same setup up at the top. So it's how many questions you want to add. You're going to have this easy, medium, hard option, free response, multiple choice. So, and then the options below that are specific to the topic. You can change any set of instructions by clicking on it up here. Just be careful, because if you want to add different variations of the same question, the directions, once you've altered them, will stay the same. So let's say I want to add 4 questions and I just want them to sketch a graph. So I can unclick these other items and now it's going to have what I want. I warn against using easy, medium, and hard, because watch what happens when I click easy. Okay, it defaults to having them sketch a graph, whereas medium defaults to identify the center and radius. It gives you less control if you're just clicking easy, medium, and hard. It's better for you to just click down here for what you want than, randomly getting, a variation of problems. So if I had clicked medium and I just wanted them to sketch the graph, well, now it's asking for center and radius. So if I click add and continue, it's going to add the number of questions and then pop back up the same menu that I had before. Whereas if I just click OK, it'll add 4 problems and then the window goes away. So let's say I wanted to add some of this type over here. So again, I can click how many I want. If you look at it, you really have to explore these options, because let's say I wanted something to do with tangent lines and circles. You might not necessarily think, oh yeah, equations of circles. You might type in tangent lines. So you might get to this same menu if you were to type in tangent line. You kind of got to get really creative. See, secant, tangent, tangents too. So that pulls up a whole different menu right there. So you really just kind of got to click around and vary up what you're searching for in order to find it, because it might be under a different title that you weren't really thinking of. So a couple more things. Let's say you like this, but you don't like this particular question. You can click on it, press the space bar, and it swaps it out for a similar problem. Let's say you are like, oh shoot, you know what? I don't actually want this many questions. I only want 2 instead of 4. You can double click and you can change it after the fact and it will update your selection. See? The other thing that you can do is, I've got to pull something up really quick. So let's just add 2 of these. All right. Notice that I went over 1 page. Let's say I want this to be a 1-page quiz and I don't want to go over 1 page. This plus minus will expand or shorten the document. So by plussing minus, I have now made this into a 1-page test. This second page is just the answers. Let's say you want it bigger so there's more work for the kids to write on. You can do plus, and now you can see all the questions are spaced out. So let's say you've saved this, but you want to create different versions of it. There's a bunch of ways to do this. So we can switch the questions. If it's multiple choice, you can switch the answers. You can auto-generate the whole thing by pressing the infinity, and it swaps out all the questions all over again. And again, we can adjust the size. It's up to you. So those are some of your options. Also, if you wanted to do multiple versions and you didn't want to have to click this, save it as a new file name, click it again, save it as a new file name, it's kind of tedious. There is one way to do it really quickly. And what that is so when you go to save this file, it's going to save as a CUDA file. If you want it as a PDF, then you have to print, and in your print options, you can print the assessment and answers, print just the assessment, or just the answers. So if we print just the assessment, we have how many different versions, and it will auto generate multiple versions of it. So that's really cool, but the problem is it comes in through as one file if we're doing it as a PDF. So you're gonna have to print assignment and answers so that you have all those versions together with their answers, and then you'll have to crop them individually after the fact. If you just print the assignment and you do, say, 10 versions of it, this file only saves the first version. And you see we can regenerate, you can scramble choices. So if I click OK, and then I do PDF, save as a PDF, this comes up and I can go geo test. All right, now if I click save, you can see what it's doing right now is regenerating all the different versions. Now, when I save it as a file, it's only going to save this one version. It's not going to save all of them. So when I go to my desktop, here is my test. And as you see, as I scroll down, it's a bunch of different versions of the same test, but there's no answers. So if what you want is this printed a bunch of different versions with answers, then what you're going to have to do is inside of Kuta, when you go to do print, when you print your different versions, you're going to need to do assignment and answers. So let's just do 4 versions this time. Save as PDF, geotest2, save. All right. So this time you can see there's my test and here's my answers to that specific test. So this would be the way to go if you're proctoring this to like the whole class and you want them all to have different questions. You're going to need to do this and then crop these and split them so that they're all separate files. Otherwise, if you want to do them one exam at a time, you're going to have to save this, print it as a PDF, and then open this file, click this button, save it as a new file name, and that's a little bit tedious. So anyways, I hope most of this was helpful. There's some other options in here that I didn't quite go over. There's one option I'll show you. You can make your own question, which is kind of cool. It even lets you do graphing. It's a little bit tedious, but it is an option in there if you need it.